I'm sure this Sangat, as under the guidance of Sant Rajendra Singh Ji Maharaj and with the help of all many Sangat, I'm sure it will grow leaps and bounds. And with that topic for today's program, which is how we can get time for meditation, and what are the priorities we should set in our day-to-day life so that we can make meditation as our priority. So I want to start with a small story which tells us what our life is and how we can incorporate meditations. So there was a young boy, and he was walking along the sideway. And as he was walking, he saw a penny on the ground. So he was excited to see the penny. He picked up the penny, and he doesn't have to give it to anybody, so he kept it in his pocket. And as he was walking, he was a little boy, so he was excited about getting even just a penny. So as he was walking, few days later he saw another penny, and then later on he started finding out some quarters, dimes, nickels, and he started collecting this money which was on the street, and he was excited to collect that money. So as time progressed, he became like kind of habituated to doing this thing, and as he grew older and older, still he had that habit of picking up the money from the street, and wherever he would go, he would pick up some quarters, $50 or dollar coins. After many years, when he grew old, he started counting the money, and he had many pennies and many dimes, nickels, and so many coins. So he started counting, and he found that he had $15. So his daughter, she saw that. She said, after all these years, you made only $15. And if you look at how much time you wasted, you didn't enjoy the skies outside, you didn't enjoy the rainbows, you didn't enjoy the people walking by and giving a smile to you. And so many things, like whenever there's a fall, you can see the leaves falling, but you're looking for these coins, and you're looking down. And because of this, you wasted so much of good moments of your life. So this story, Balaji tells, and he relates to our life, how we are absorbed in getting the money. We may not be getting the money from the street like this boy, but we have somewhere in our mind where we always want to get more and more money. And having money for ourselves, to have a livelihood is definitely we need it. But beyond that, when we go to get more and more money, we may not be balancing our life. We may be sacrificing our family time, our friendship, friends' time. We may be sacrificing the most important aspect of our life, which is to grow spiritually, and running after just for few more dollars, or getting more gadgets and getting more outside things. And even if you get all the outside things, at the end you will realize that those things are temporary, they are not permanent. Even if they give you enjoyment, you may get enjoyment for a day, two, and you may feel you are happy for maybe a week, 2 weeks, month, 2 months, maybe a few years, if you buy a new house or new car, but if you analyze at the end, you will find that it is all temporary. It's not permanent, it is not going to stay with us, and we create more and more desires, as we go after these things. It's not that we are going to stop at one particular gadget. It's just a habit. And as you create more and more habits, you are becoming more desirous, and if you have more desires, definitely it's going to lead to create more karma. And I want to relate a little bit on the theory of karma which Masters talks about. Is if you read Bhagavad Gita or any scriptures, they talk about three types of karmas we have. One is we have prarabdha karma, which is a fate karma due to which we are living this life, and we have sanchit karma, so the storehouse of karma from which all these karmas are picked up, which are given in this life, which are prarabdha karma. And we have kriyaman karma, which is free will, that whatever we do every day, it's our choice whether you want to do one thing or the other thing. So that's our free will. And if you study this theory of karma, they say prarabdha karma is like, we have all the things which we are supposed to pass through in this life, where we should take birth, which family, which nation, and what will be our friend circle, and which spouse we will have, and what kids, and when we are going to pass away from this life. That is all part of prarabdha karma, which is about 75% of our life, and 25% is free will, where we make decisions. So if you analyze closely this prarabdha karma, you can see that most of the karma, 75% is a big part of karma which is fixed. Like for example, jobs which we are doing, that is also part of prarabdha karma. And the amount of energy we spend in analyzing things to go beyond what we are doing, or getting the money which we are getting currently, we want to go beyond that. We always want to get more and more. And if you try to understand the theory behind the karmic, the prarabdha karma, Master says like it's all preordained. Prarabdha karma is preordained, you can't change. So let's say I have a job, and if it is preordained, I cannot change what is there. And even if I try my best to let's say work extra and try to change it, get more money, maybe at the end of whatever money you are getting, you might lose that money. Either you may get sick, or you may have some other issues, and eventually whatever you are supposed to get is what you are supposed to get. So instead of going beyond what we have, instead of trying to be different than what we are, if you stay calm, peaceful and balanced, and try to focus on what we have, of course we have to be more efficient, more productive, but not getting unbalanced, not getting overwhelmed, so that we lose our time, we lose our attention for something which is not in our hands. I want to read a little story about Yudhishthira, from Mahabharata. Yudhishthira was blind by birth, and he had a question one day that why I am blind, what did I do wrong that by birth I am blind. So he went to Lord Krishna, and he had such a great power that he could meditate and he could go up to 100 lives behind and see what he has done. And when he saw his life, he didn't see anything he did wrong, due to which he is going through this karma, which is to be blind. So he asked Lord Krishna, what is wrong I did, because of that I had to go through this life. So Lord Krishna, he gave him more wisdom, and he says, go to 108 or 109th life and see what you did. And there he saw that he did something, he caught some birds and he made them blind. And because of that karma, he has to go through that karma in this life. So then he realized that, it's not part of just this life, but we have to go through the karmas from previous life also. So I think that is a very important message here, that if we can understand this theory of karma, many things which we are doing in life, maybe we can just control them, because if you already know that this is part of your karma, instead of getting, having anxiety or more excited, you can just be calm and composed and maybe take whatever is coming in your life, so that you don't have to waste time, which is precious time, which is the current moment, for something which is supposed to happen in your life. Then another part of karma is, if you understand the even current karma, there is a story from Valmiki. He was dacoit, and his job was to kill people and make money, and he will like loot all the people who are passing by. And one day he came across a saint who gave him initiation or naam, and he made him understood that whatever he is doing, karma, whatever he is creating, it is going to harm him, and nobody is going to support him for that karma. And that realization, when it came in his being, then he became like changed personality, and slowly he understood the theory, and then from that point onwards he like started becoming saintly person. And now if you see, he has written like Ramayana, and he is like considered to be a saint. So there are examples where people have changed their lives because how they came on understanding about the karma, and how they meet a saint or a being who helped them to understand what is beyond. So to understand the living saint, like Valmiki made somebody like that, if you try to understand how it works, and many times we think we are educated people, we have lots of knowledge, we have intellect, and why we need to do all these things, because we can live our life very happily, we can make good money, run the family, and live a normal life. But Maharaji, he says like, if you want to achieve the goal of this life, you have to lead two parts of life. One is Sachi Jindagi, and another is Suchi Jindagi. Sachi means the truthful life, which is to live a life the way you should be living. Like you'll not be harming anybody, you'll not be thinking bad about anybody, you're not going to be cheat anybody, you are being truthful. And Suchi Jindagi means you have to have a desire to know God. Because just leading a life where you are thinking that everything is good, I am donating some money and I am doing all the good things, it's not sufficient to get to the goal. Unless you have desire to meet God. Now, why we want to meet God? I want to pose you some questions here and see what answer comes from you. We see this, sun is there, and earth is moving around the sun, and the moon is moving around the earth, right? And there are so many galaxies, so many stars. And if you try to see what principle is working behind all this thing, which is running from millions and millions of years. Nobody is touching anything, nobody is doing anything externally, but the whole system is running properly. If anything fails, even by a few centimeters, maybe things will collide and things can end, but it never happens. There is some principle behind it, right? If you think about all the cycles which are going on in this life, if you think about weather cycle, we have winter season, then we have spring, summer, fall, and then every year we have the same repetition going on and on and on. So there is some principle, some force behind it which is running, right? Then if you think about the oxygen cycle, think about the plants, they leave the oxygen, and we take the oxygen and we leave the carbon dioxide, and then they take the carbon dioxide. So this cycle is going on, on and on and on. So there is some principle, some force working behind all this theory. Similarly, if you see our body, how it is working, we have so many involuntary processes which are running in our body. We have digestive system running, we have blood circulation, heart is beating, lungs are working, brain is working, and so many things where we are not putting any attention, we are not putting any effort. It's running through some force, some principle behind it which we are not touching it. So when you think about all these things, generally if you meet somebody and if somebody is helping you, we always say thank you. Now, when you think about all these things which are working, and if any of these things fail, we will fail. I mean, if your body is not working, we have to go to hospital. If we cannot take oxygen, we definitely cannot work. So all these principles which are working, don't we want to know what is the principle, who is the one who is running this show? We want to say thank you to that, whoever is that. And we want to meet him, we want to say thank you, how I came into this life, And there is a beautiful saying from Khwaja Hafiz. He says, God says, I was a hidden treasure, I loved to be known. So I created creation in order that I should be known. So he's saying I was a hidden treasure. But then I wanted to be many, or I wanted to be known, and so this whole creation came into being, and we see everything is like God's presence, and we are also part of God. So if you think little deeply, you can see that God in us is seeing the God's creation in all around us. So it's God is seeing himself, all God's creation, and this is all what he wished to be. So when we have desire to meet, someone who created all this earth, moon, sun, and all the galaxies and things beyond, when we have desire to meet that God, then we will come across someone who is one with God, who has known all these principles, who is mouthpiece of God, who can tell you what it is and how it is working, and that we call as saint or mystic or master. And when you meet some master or saint or mystic, then you can get to the realization that what these principles are and how you can experience it within yourself. So to experience the God power or the all the principles, we need to have some faith in somebody. It's like when we go to school or college, we have faith in our teacher that whatever he's teaching, will listen to it, will have some, will assume that let's believe in whatever he's saying is correct, and then try to prove those things. So it's like, Master said there is a hypothesis. We have a hypothesis that, okay, whatever our teacher is saying, is it true or not? And then when we experiment it, we say it is right. So I want to relate a small story about from the movie. It's called The Karate Kid. And in this movie, there is one little boy who goes to a teacher to learn the karate. And karate is not something you can learn in one day. You have to practice a lot. So as this young boy goes to karate teacher, he is very excited to learn what is karate. So as he goes first day, teacher calls him. He says, I will teach you karate, but I have one condition. The condition is that you will not ask any question. And whatever I am going to tell you, just listen and don't ask any question, just follow it. And kid says, okay. So he says, okay, the first lesson is, this is a wall, and I'll give you 2 brushes, hold them very tight and color the ball. And the way you color is go up and down. You should not go like left and right, it should be just up and down. So boy, he thinks I came here to learn karate, I don't know what I'm doing, but he remembers that I am not supposed to ask a question. So he takes the brushes and starts just painting. And whole day he just is doing this painting. And whole wall is done and goes home. Next day he comes back. And now he's thinking that, okay, yesterday I did a good job of whatever he said to paint. Today I will learn some karate. And then next day teacher says, okay, today there are 3 cards. Take these 2 clothes, wash them properly, and then paint these cards. The way you paint is, you have to just move your hands in this direction. You are not moving upwards, just in the horizontal direction. And this boy is again, he doesn't understand, but then he again remembers, I don't have to ask question. So he takes the clothes, he cleans the car, and then starts painting, and whole day goes by and he goes home. Now 3rd day he comes, and teacher says, okay, on the backyard there is some platform, and go and wash this platform very neatly. And the way you have to wash is, he shows him, some way which is particular way, and you have to just clean all the platform. So this boy goes, and now he is completely, filled up with all the anger, and he thinks, what's going on, I don't know. But he's not supposed to ask the question, so he cleans the back this platform, and then he says, I cannot take any more. So he goes to teacher, and he says, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. This is not something I'm supposed to do. I'm here to learn karate. And teacher says, oh, you are breaking the first rule. I told you not to ask question, but since you already asked, here is my fight. He starts like fighting with the kid. And the moment he attacks him, the kid has to do his action, which is like up and down to protect him. And then he starts fighting with the leg. He's attacking with the leg, and he has to do the action where he was cleaning the car and he has to move his hand like that. And so, few minutes it goes by, and then teacher walks out. And then kid immediately realizes that whatever action he did was all what he learned by doing all those actions. And then he feels very sorry. So same thing, I think if you take this analogy with what master tells us, like when he tells us to do, let's say Simran, and he says repeat the same name for 2.5 hours daily for all the initiates, and let's say for new people you have to sit for 10 minutes. As an intellectual person, I'll say why I should repeat the same name. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm repeating the same name again and again and again. I'm not getting anything. But if you follow your teacher, whatever he's saying, and try to just do it as an experiment, you will realize that how your mind is becoming calm, quiet, and how you can experience something within. But if you just analyze it and keeping ask question, if you just keep asking question that why I'm doing this and I'm not getting anywhere and blah blah blah, and then if you don't have faith in teacher, you'll not get anywhere. So many things, when we try to learn, we try to follow those instructions just, as a friend is giving you advice, and let's say just follow these instructions for whatever time period and then see what results you are getting. Kabir Sahib says very clearly that don't believe even your guru until you prove it yourself. So it's not that when some teachings are coming from the master, you have to believe it blindly. Everything we must experiment, everything we must try to prove it, and then we can say, yeah, this, whatever this teacher is saying, it makes sense, right? Second thing is, when we are trying to understand anything from the teacher, we have to be humble, we have to be human, we have to be non-egoistic, like they say, if you want to get something from your teacher, and if you think that you have more knowledge than teacher, then you will never get anything. So if you take the teachings as a person who's taking the teachings, like they say, if you keep the bowl open, then some water can come, but if you keep bowl above the tap, you can never get the water. Same thing is when you are getting the teachings, you should be humble, you should be receptive to get those teachings. Then whatever master is saying, you can easily experiment that and you can see for yourself what it is. Another thing which master tells is repeating, let's say, 5 charge names or the names of God within yourself. Now many people say, why I need master? Because what he is giving at the time of initiation is 5 names which we are repeating, and we have some experiences. And many people think, why I should go for that? I can just take any name, repeat that name, and I can have same experiences. Why not? And if you try to see, many people who go with themselves, they take any name of God and they try to repeat it. Maybe you can calm your mind for certain period. But to rise above body consciousness, to get into the stage where you can really experience the divine light and divine sound, you must get the name from the living master or living teacher who can give you those names with his attention. Because when master is giving the names, his attention is there behind those names. And when you repeat those names, it works to calm the mind. And when your mind is calm, then only you can have those experiences. Like master, says the way Sandarshan Singh Maharaj wrote the ghazal that खाक से ताबा कह कशां हमने तो जब किया सफर इश्क मिला कदम कदम हुस्न मिला नजर नजर. Like when I traveled from earthy to heavenly, I found love at every step and beauty in every glance. So when you have those experience, when you sit in meditation and you have divine sound flowing within you, and when you feel so much joy, happiness and bliss, then you realize that there is something behind it. It's not coming from your body, it's not coming from any instrument. They call it Anad Shabd. Anad Shabd means the divine music which is played without any physical instrument, without touching any instrument. And when you experience that divine music within yourself, it is not coming from anywhere else, then you realize that it's not something which can be prepared or which can be made by anyone from outside. It has to be coming from God. And when you have that experience, then only you realize that there is some God power working, through that saint or mystic. And at the same time, if you go other way where you are having your own names, you can never reach to the stage where you can listen to the divine music or you can see the light within. Because if you can do it by yourself, then we don't need masters. We can just do it by ourselves. But when you experiment, when you see what is the difference here, you can find out why we follow certain things and how it works. This is all the path of experience. There is nothing like theory, To give you an example, there was one boatman there, and one saintly person or one old person came, and this old person, he said, okay, I want to cross the river, can you take me? So this boatman says, yeah. So as they are going along, this old person, he says, do you know English? And this boatman says, no, I never learned English. And he says, do you know grammar? This man says, no, I never learned the grammar. I am a boatman, I just know how to, run the boat. So, as they are going, suddenly storm comes and the boat is shaking. And then this boatman asks him, do you know swimming? And this man says, no, I never learned swimming. Then he says, you have to lose your life, because if you don't know swimming, the storm is there. Once it goes over, we both will be in the water, so you must know swimming. So it's not that we have some intellectual knowledge and we can get across the sea of life, with just intellectual knowledge. We need the practical knowledge of life where we can get the help and guidance from the being, from the one who is one with God. So when we try to understand, all things which we do in this life, we are living at the intellectual level or physical level. And what master or saintly person they teach us is how you can lead a life where you can feel where you can experience a spiritual connection, where you can see that how your connection is there with God power or the supreme. And as you try to get this experience more and more and more, you will realize that we get the help from the master in all spheres of life. So I want to specify here is when we are trying to meditate, one more aspect is very, very important, which is to lead a life where we can develop our ethical virtues. So they say ethical life is a stepping stone to spirituality, which means all the virtues which we are supposed to gain, like truthfulness, non-violence, chastity, selfless service. We must imbibe those virtues in order to get to the place where we can experience some divine power. And the way we do this is, if you try to follow this in everyday life, where you can introspect yourself and see where you are with these virtues. For example, I may have different thoughts going on in my mind, where I am maybe thinking some bad about some people. Now I am creating this violence in terms of thoughts. So if you introspect your thought pattern, and at the end of the day, if you can make a note of those things and see where you are you non-violent? And let's say if I have say 100 thoughts today about different people or different situations where I'm not being non-violent, then I can record those numbers in let's say just piece of paper, and next day I want to improve from 100 to 90. Same thing is, you want to develop different virtues like truthfulness. I'm not supposed to lie, and if I have a habit of lying, maybe I want to reduce it to from 10 to 8 and like that. So if you follow this introspection theory, where you see yourself where you are, and if you try to improve yourself every day, slowly you will realize that you can have more and more experiences, and you can feel more and more connection. So that's one part of it. And the meditation technique I want to share with you, which our master tells us, is this is a very simple technique where we can sit in any pose. We may sit on a sofa, or cross-legged on the ground, or any place. But the main thing is we want to shut off the 5 senses we have. So we have a sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of smell, taste and touch. So through these 5 senses we are connected to the outside world. So they say 83% of our life is lived through the sense of sight. We see something in the outside world and we analyze those situations, and that goes in our system. And 13% is through the sense of hearing. We listen some outside sounds and we try to analyze those things and take into our system. And then 3% is based on smell, taste and touch. So if you invert your 5 senses and sit quietly at some place in any pose, what you will experience is thoughts. You'll be bombarded by thoughts. You may think about past, you may think about future, you may think about any current situations, and these thoughts are getting generated in our mind. Now to control these thoughts, you have to give some work to mind. So it's like, they say mind is like mercury. So if you keep your mind just open, it will just keep on thinking about different things. But if you give some work to mind, then you can make it stable or calm, and And once your mind is stable, then you can have some experiences inside. So to make your mind calm, you take any name of God or any name which you feel most comfortable and repeat that name mentally, slowly, with the tongue of thought. And as you repeat that name mentally, you will slowly feel that your mind is getting more and more calm, and focus your attention at the third eye, which is between and behind the two eyebrows. And as you focus your attention at the third eye, which is called single eye, Shiv Netra or Nuktai Safeda, you will feel some connection inside, and you may get connected to the divine sound or divine light. And as your connection gets more and more stronger, you can just focus in the middle of what you see. So this is a very simple and basic technique which we follow, and we don't touch our involuntary processes. We have digestive system going on, our hairs and nails are growing, our breathing is going on in our body, and lots of other activities, but we don't pay attention to those things. We just shut off these five senses and focus our attention at the third eye between the behind the eyebrows. So this is a very simple and basic technique, and it's a very powerful technique. Like they say, if you take any other way to control your mind, every other system has some fault. But this technique, which is repeating the name of God inside mentally, is a proven technique, and it has been practiced by all saints and mystics in the past. If you take any religion, if you take Christianity, they say in the beginning was Word, the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And if you take our Indian scriptures, they say अव्वल अल्लाह नूर पाया कुदरत के सब बंदे एक नूर थे सब जग उपजा कौन भले कौन मंदे. Like in the beginning was God, and from him all the noor or the light came into being, and through this whatever came in this world, it is coming from only one power or one God. And in this naam, Kabir Sahib says, आदि साखी कबीर की कोट ग्रंथ का सार सतनाम जग झूठ है सूरज शब्द पहचान. He says like Adi Sakhi means so Sakhi means two lines and Adi Sakhi means one line. So he says one line which I am going to tell you is summary of like crores of granths or scriptures, and he says Satnam Jag Jhoot hai. He's saying the naam or the name, the repetition of God's name is the only truth, and all the outside world which we are seeing is illusion. जग झूठ है सूरज शब्द पहचान. सूरज means आत्मा and शब्द means the oversoul or Paramatma. So he says try to find out how you can connect your soul with the oversoul or God, and you can only do this through repeating the God's name. So this is not something which is, it looks like very simple technique, but it has so much power that you cannot believe how much you can achieve through just repeating these names. Like they say, with these names, just repeating these names, you can have God in your hand, which means you can really experience God not only inside yourself, but you can see all the creation as godly just by repeating the names, because it's only mind which creates all the havoc in our system. It gives you thought about this, and if you just repeat the name, mentally and with precision, as the master describes, you can experience that, and as you experience more and more, you can feel the beauty inside you and outside more and more. The other very important aspect till we reach some stage where we can experience, godly power is meeting the master or the living saint. And when we meet a living master, we can feel that radiation, coming from him, the divine light and divine sound, without our, putting any effort. Just being in the presence, physical presence of the master, you can get that radiation, and you can reach a stage which in scripture they call Neya Karma, means we are not creating any karma, because his radiation is so powerful that it actually takes away all your thoughts, and you can just be in a stage where you can be so fulfilling, so contented, and so uplifted that you don't need anything else. So I think the key is, whenever we want to pursue the spiritual path, we should look for a living master, living saint, and the one who can actually give you that experience, first-hand experience, where you can experience the divine light and divine sound without your own effort. And not only that, once you meet the saint, you feel the connection from within. For example, I can tell you my experience when I met first time Sant Rajendra Singh Maharaj in India. I could feel that there is some connection, like he's my guru. I can feel that connection. And when we see a saint, a living saint or a true saint, he looks like a physical being like us, he can talk like us, he can walk like us, he eats with us and everything. But in reality, he's not just a physical being, but he's a spiritual being, which means he's omnipresent. He's present everywhere. You can, whatever questions are going on in your mind, when you are in front of living saint, you can get the answers to all your questions in the meeting or in the satsang, when you are with him physically or even without physically. But the importance of being in his physical presence is you can get that radiation very quickly and very easily. And as I said earlier, if you are just being calm and composed, you just take this take him as a friend, and you're just sitting in front of him like getting some advice, and just keep your heart open. Don't be critical, don't be analytical, just try to be receptive, and when that radiation comes, you can feel that upliftment inside. So to give you an example, like if you are thirsty and if you want to quench your thirst, if you read a book about water, you're not going to quench the thirst. But if you drink water, you will quench the thirst. Same thing is when we want to understand spirituality or meditation. If you are in the presence of a living saint, it is like you are getting directly that divine power within you. At the same time, if you just read the scriptures, if you read, all the good things, it will give you some, radiation, some power where you can feel some, emotionally good, but it will not quench your thirst. So to quench the thirst, you actually should have that experience. And there is nothing better experience than being in the physical presence of the master. No matter how bad is our situation in outer life, no matter how many problems we are going through in our life, no matter whatever is going on in our life, doesn't matter, but the moment we are in his presence, he actually bathes us with all the divine power. Also, at the time of initiation, master gives us a boon, or the way he takes our sanchit karma is where we have been circling through this life from many years. As I was telling you a story from Dhritarashtra, where how he was blind from previous lives. Same thing, we have so many karmas associated in our life from previous lives. And when we go to a living saint, he actually washes up all the karmas, which is not possible by any physical being. It is only possible someone who is godly, who is one with God, who can take your karma. And it only happens through the commandment of the God, through the master. So I think it's very important that as we try to experiment so many things in our life, in outer life we learn so many different subjects and we try to make many friends. We should try to pursue this spiritual path as a path where you want to meet some friend, some living master who can give you some radiation. Just treat it as a simple, friendly advice and just try to see what happens. not to be too much critical, just be a simple person and just try to receive what you get from him. So, and definitely I can tell you, it actually changes the life completely. And for me, I used to meditate every day before meeting master, and maybe 15 minutes, half an hour every day. And I never knew how to meditate. I was just sitting quietly, and I had some minimum experiences. But when I met master, it changed my life completely. It was just 360 degree, because meeting him at the physical level and experiencing the divine power, you can feel that you are not the same person. So this is my personal and friendly advice to all those people who haven't seen master, and who are looking for some living master or some spiritual experiences. You should try to meet the master and see how it helps you in mundane life as well as spiritual life. So have you ever been time?
Yeah, meditated video.
Right. So now we will watch a little video from my master Sant Raghunath Singh Maharaj, and then we'll sit for meditation for a few minutes.